Always great having my next guest on the show. It's Grant Dawson, who's got another big fight this time, October the 7th, when he faces Bobby Green in the main event of UFC Fight Night 229. Grant, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Yes, sir. Great to have you back. And I tell you this before, every time I watch you fight, you just get better and better. Your most recent performance, as far as I'm concerned, the best one that you put out yet, UD dominant win over Damir Ismagulov. Sum that one up for me.
Yeah, I think the credit goes to my team. I think that training at American Top Team has really put me to that next level, the championship level that I've been missing, that I've been wanting to get at. And I definitely think that Damir is the biggest win that I have had so far. And I definitely think he's one of the best guys I've fought so far. And the way that I was able to handle it really shows how much better I'm getting since joining American Top Team.
And it really was just an absolute wrestling and BJJ clinic. At the time you fought him, you were ranked 15. He was ranked 12. Obviously, now you're 10th in the division. But I mean, what kind of confidence does this give you? I mean, you already had to know how good you are, but to just go in there and dominate a guy that darn good, that has to just elevate your confidence even more.
Yeah, it was a huge confidence boost for me. Huge, kind of one of those situations where it's like I absolutely belong in this sport, in this position. I really think that it's only going to be extremely good competition from this point out. I'm entering into my first main event. I think there's a lot of things that I'm being rewarded with for that performance.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Is there anything that he did or that he didn't do in the fight that surprised you?
No, I think that my team and I do a really good job preparing for people. It was really, honestly, that is the fight that I expected. The one thing that I wish that I had gone into a little bit different was knowing I could have finished him. I told myself this entire fight camp, this is going to be 3 rounds. This is going to be a war. This is going to be a tough fight that you're not going to be able to get out of there. So be ready not to finish him. And I think I got put in some positions where I could have finished the fight, but I chose the safer option just because in my mind already I had locked in a decision. And I think that if I had gone in there knowing I could submit him, knowing I could have put my forearm across his jaw and really squeezed and not blown myself out, I wish I had gone in with the mentality that I will finish this guy.
Is there a moment in that fight where you felt like you broke him, or could you tell that maybe you broke him at some point during that fight?
Well, there's so many different levels of breaking in a fight. There's lifting your chin and getting choked out. There's not getting up when you know you have to get up. And then there's once you get your back taken, you know you're down. I'm just gonna not get submitted. I feel like in that third round, he could have done a little bit more to try to escape. I was expecting him to do a little bit more to try to escape, and I think that could have opened up a submission for me maybe. But he was doing a really good job playing it safe. I think towards the end of the third round, he had decided that, okay, I'm going to lose a decision. Let's not get finished.
What did Coach Brown and the rest of your team tell you immediately after that fight? And how did you guys celebrate the win?
We celebrated the same way we always do is pizza and Coca-Cola. I don't drink at all. I don't really like to go out. I don't like people or crowds of people or people. So, it was really just me, my wife, my team, my manager eating a bunch of pizza, smashing pizza, and staying up late, way past our bedtimes. That was the celebration for me. And then I was in the gym on the week after on Thursday. I was in the gym getting ready, helping Thiago get ready for his fight.
And obviously you earned every slice of pizza that you ate that night and after that. But what exactly did Coach Brown tell you post performance? I mean, is there any critiques that you could take at all from that performance?
I don't know if there's any, maybe just the fact that I think we could have done a little bit more once we had gotten the takedown. Mike was very happy with my performance, as was Coach Alves. I think the biggest thing that they were excited about and the biggest thing that I was very, very happy about is how calm I was in the back. It was one of those situations where I was so calm. I was so locked in. I really wish that I had fought Islam Makhachev that night because I really don't think anybody could have beaten me on that night. Like I was just so laser focused, not worried, not scared. Obviously, you're always going to have a little bit of nerves, but usually it's a lot worse. And it was just so like flatline smooth. Everything went great. I kept telling myself like, hey, something's going to go wrong. You got to get yourself like, and it just, man, it was just a perfect performance, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. It was a masterpiece in there. I was extraordinarily impressed with what you did, and I'm sure the rest of the MMA world watching felt the exact same way. The last time that I did speak with you too, Grant, you told me you wanted the winner of Hooker and Turner. Post fight, you told Michael Bisping that you wanted either Tony Ferguson or Beneil Dariush. I just kind of want to talk a little bit about all of those scenarios, because with Tony Ferguson, obviously the guy's a legend. He's lost 6 in a row, all to guys at the top of the division or just huge names. What would a win over Tony Ferguson at this point, you being ranked number 10th in the division, what would that do for you? Would you want that fight if that's what the UFC gave you next?
Look, man, I don't really. Everybody's kind of, what am I trying to say here? Everybody's trying to fight somebody ahead of them, and I don't really believe in rankings. I believe in the number one spot. Let's keep in mind that Islam Makhachev got a title fight off of beating Bobby Green. So I really don't think that beating the number one contender makes you the number one contender. I think that being smart about your career, picking your fights strategically, and I'm not saying that I'm running from anybody. I'm not scared of anybody. If they offer the fight, I take it. I haven't turned down a fight with the UFC other than not being able to make the weight on time, not having enough time to make the weight. This is the only time I've ever said, "Hey, I can't take this fight. I'm too heavy." So I think that a win over Tony Ferguson does about the same for my career that a win over Bobby Green was. I think people are misunderstanding what I'm saying when I want to fight Tony Ferguson. I don't want to fight Tony Ferguson. I want to fight a veteran and a legend, somebody with that name that is going to propel me, not so much ranking wise, but just a little bit more with the fans, because they're going to tune in because they want to see that guy fight. I
Makes
destroy
sense.
him. Now they're my fans. And I think I've got that with Bobby Green.
Yeah, no doubt about it. When you mentioned Beneil Dariush, that's a fight that is really intriguing to me, because we know how good he is. He's a veteran. He's very dangerous on the ground, and with how good you are getting the fight to the ground, I feel like that could be a really interesting chess match. If that fight ever comes to fruition, just early prediction analysis, how do you see that fight playing out if it does happen?
I think me versus Beneil Dariush is a grappler's delight. He's no slouch on the feet either. He's a very good veteran. He's a very good fighter. And let's not forget that I know it was only one round, but he was dominating Charles Oliveira until he wasn't. He was doing great. He got the takedown. He was in the guard, landing really good elbows. Charles got up, landed a big kick, landed a big punch, and changed the trajectory of that fight. And I think that's what people are remembering. The real thing is how good is Beneil Dariush being able to be in Charles's best position and not having any danger. He's a very accomplished grappler, very, very good grappler. He's already beat a guy from American Top Team who I hold in very high standards, Gamrot. And so I think a win over him is something that propels me into a title shot. I think that I fight Beneil Dariush, I think I get a title shot. My game plan right now is beat Bobby on October 7th. Next year, look to fight Dan Hooker, and then look to fight those top level guys, Dariush, Gaethje, Chandler, something along those lines.
What did you think of that Hooker Turner fight? That was unbelievable, back and forth, just barn burner of a fight.
Absolutely insane. Fantastic fight. I was very happy for Dan Hooker, and man, I got to give him credit. Broke his arm, broke his orbital, and still managed to get the win. What a stud. What a G. That's the type of guy that I want to fight. I want to fight him after Bobby Green. Of course, all my focus and attention is on Bobby Green right now, but I come from the wrestling world. You're always kind of looking at, I beat this guy, who do I fight next, or who do I wrestle next? So, I'm able to look to the future while also staying in the present. So I'm looking for Bobby Green on October 7th, Dan Hooker after that, and I think a win over Dan Hooker really tells people where I'm at.
Yeah, no doubt about it, my man. So much to get to. I have so many questions for you. I want to backtrack just a little bit. After the fight, post fight in there with Michael Bisping, you said something to your wife, "I love you." I thought it was hysterical. I'm not going to say the last word, but what was the feedback you got from that? Was she happy with you for saying that, or did she give you a little crud?
Oh, she thought it was hilarious. I absolutely would not have said that in front of millions of people if I didn't know that she would find it hilarious. Nobody knows my wife better than I know my wife. She's got a great sense of humor. She knows I'm joking. It was great. It was definitely it was planned out a little bit beforehand, but it was one of those fly of the moment things. It just felt right, so you go for it. I knew she would find it hilarious, and she did.
Stole the show. I absolutely loved it. I was cracking up watching it with my wife too, who thought it was hilarious. I wanted to ask you too about I believe this has to be one of your sponsors, millions.co. I see you do a lot with them on your Instagram. Can you just kind of talk to me a little bit about what you're doing with them?
Yeah, so I'm working with Millions and we're streaming fights. We do one stream a month, and it's so much fun because I get to like talk to the fans. Guys get on, ask me questions about fighting, ask me questions about my life, and then we basically just get to talk and watch fights. It's like a watch party without anybody in my house. So it's really fun. It's really cool, and I definitely think you guys should go check them out.
All right, let's talk about camp at ATT. This is somewhat of a short notice fight, maybe not the fullest fight camp you could get. How has it been this far? Who have you had around you to prepare you for Bobby Green?
Yeah, so I mean, it hasn't been the longest camp. I got like 12 weeks in my last one, and so that kind of spoiled me. But for this one, I think we had 5.5 weeks. That's still plenty of time. My weight was lower as well, and I was in camp with Thiago, helping him get ready to fight in Paris. So it's not like I'm out of shape. I'm in really really good shape. My weight is lower. I'm gonna be ready to go on October 7th. I'm ready to get after this. I got my buddy Dakota up here. He's helping me out, getting ready, kind of mimicking Bobby. And then I have another guy named Nate. He's a really, really good striker, really good with his hands down, flashy, very Bobby style. So I think I have the training partners to really mimic Bobby. And I think I'm going to be ready, really ready for my first main event.
Yeah, can't wait to see that. And it's 5 rounds, so this will be the first time you're going 5 rounds in the UFC. I'm really intrigued to see what happens with that. And honestly, just to piggyback off of that, it seems like you are the perfect type of fighter to be in a 5 round fight with just your gas tank and your style. It's going to be really intriguing. We're going to get back to Bobby Green here in a minute, but I want to get a couple of fight picks for you this weekend. Noche UFC. We got the title on the line. Alexa Grasso against the former champ Valentina Shevchenko. Who do you see winning that fight?
I keep going back and forth. I think it's a lot closer than people think it is. I think that they're expecting Shevchenko to go in there and get the title back, and she very well might. But let's not forget, people always say when you become the champion, you get 10% better. But the thing that they're leaving out of that is when you lose the championship, you get 10% worse. Let's look at Leon Edwards versus Usman. He was dominating the first fight. It was 4-1, no questions asked. He gets knocked out with a lucky kick, comes back and then ends up losing a decision in their second fight. The champ got 10% better. Usman got 10% worse. That's just how it works. When you kind of realize you're not invincible anymore, that's how it goes. Now, that's not to say that Shevchenko can't come back and win the belt. I'm going to put my neck on the line. I'm going to say Alexa Grasso gets it done again by unanimous decision.
Okay. I'm really intrigued about that one. Co-main event, I'm almost equally as intrigued about Kevin Holland, Jack Della Maddalena. Do you see, I believe Della is a small favorite in this fight. Who do you see winning this one?
Man, this is another weird one. If Jack Della Maddalena's last fight didn't happen, I would say that Jack Della Maddalena was going to win this fight super easy, barely an inconvenience, no problem. But he didn't look great in his last fight. I personally thought he lost his last fight. Now you can go into the weight cut, you could go into the time change, you can go into the travel, you can go into all this stuff. I've had a bad night before. I had a fight against Ricky Glenn. I didn't show up that night. That's not to say that I'm not going to show up again the next night. So I'm really interested to see how Jack does. And I think this will answer a lot of questions for us because before his last fight, I was saying that Jack Della Maddalena was the next champion. Put him in for the belt now because he's untouchable. We kind of saw him. Here's the issue with his last fight. He made bad decisions. That's what it's hard for me to get over on somebody. Like if you have an off night, fine. If you're just not there that night, fine. It's the decision making that we saw. He went for the guillotine, didn't get it, lost the round. Went for the guillotine, didn't get it, lost the round. Went for the guillotine, didn't get. He just kept going for the same move that wasn't working. And fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me because I should stop going for that shit.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he's known as a striker, heavy hands, and he was trying to, grapple and wrestle a wrestler. So you're right. I totally agree with you on that one. I'm intrigued. So your official pick for that Holland JDM.
Jack.
Jack. Okay.
I
Going
said
with
all
Jack.
those words, and I'm still picking Jack.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to beat him. He's so good. You got to
Yeah,
beat him and to prove me wrong. But I'm picking Jack still. Everything I just said, but I still think Jack is going to win.
I'm with you. I'm going JDM too. Let's fast forward to UFC 294. The 155 titles on the line. Islam Oliveira 2. Who wins? We have and still or and new?
And still, I do think that this fight is going to be a lot closer than people think for a couple of reasons. 99% of the time when you're going into a fight, the biggest thing you're worried about isn't losing, isn't getting hurt. It's the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen. Is this guy going to be stronger than I think he is? Is this guy going to be faster than I think he is? How hard does this guy hit? Those are the big things that kind of go through your mind. And Charles Oliveira has already experienced them. I do think he will come into this fight a little bit better, a little bit more prepared. And I do think that it will be a much, much closer fight. I'm still picking Islam Makhachev to win this fight. Also, on top of that, this is the first time that Islam is going into a fight after looking a little bit mortal. He fought a 145er, arguably lost the fight. I thought he won the fight, but a lot of people thought he lost the fight. So he looks like a mortal human being now. He's not some god that people walking to the cage have already lost to in their minds. I think that if Oliveira is a little bit stronger up here, he could really make this interesting.
Prime Islam.
Makhachev.
Islam Makhachev. Okay, that's that. I was just going to say, I assumed that's where you're going, but prime Islam versus prime Khabib.
Khabib.
Yeah. Okay. We're on the same track with a lot of these things. Let's go to October 7th, UFC Fight Night 229. Your first main event. It's at the Apex, 5 rounds. I mean, how excited are you just to headline this event, to be facing, an extremely well-known, durable fighter in Bobby Green?
Man, I'm super excited. I'm really glad this is happening. I'm really glad that this is, going down. I'm super pumped for it. I think that it's a great matchup, not just for me, but I think it's also a great matchup for him. If he can stuff the takedowns, he's got some really good striking. He's not my first veteran that I've fought, but he's definitely the most accomplished veteran that I fought. And I do think that a win over Bobby gets me a lot of the things that I was missing before fighting Bobby. I think I'll get more credit and more notoriety for beating Bobby Green than I will be for beating Damir. I do think that Damir and Bobby would be a pretty close fight. I think that they're very similar in ways. They're very skilled in their striking aspects. I would love to see that fight. Me and Bobby getting in there, I think it propels me forward. I'm not fighting backwards in my mind. I'm fighting forward in my mind, and that's how I have it locked in. Some of these guys are like, "Oh, you're this, you're gonna destroy." Nah, dog. Like, I know how good Bobby Green is. I know what he's made of, and I'm gonna be ready for it.
And Bobby Green likes to talk a little trash. You don't seem like the type of guy that would be affected by someone talking trash, but just run me through your mindset going into a fight where you're going to be facing someone that's going to be chirping at you.
Yeah, I've had guys in the gym chirp at me during sparring. I've had my pad holders chirp at me a little bit during sparring. I really don't think he's going to be chirping as much as people think. Like I've got a very, very solid game plan to deal with him, and all of that stuff doesn't matter. Like I would rather him throw words at me than punches. So, keep the words flying. I'll keep the punches flying. That's a fair trade.
And again, this is a guy that's been in there with some real high level opposition. Most recently, he beat Tony Ferguson, losses to the champion Makhachev, Rafael Fiziev, Drew Dober. When you look at some of those losses, is there something that you can kind of pick and choose from, what you do with your style to go in there and implement against Bobby?
Well, if you look at the fighters that he's fought that are primarily grapplers, even if he's winning those fights, he's not looking as good on the feet as he is. And I think it's because he's worried about the takedown. Now, that being said, I'm prepared for him to come in and be crazy, do his thing. But if you look at his fight with Clay Guida, Clay did really well with him. I arguably thought Clay won the fight. My boy Thiago Moises fought him, and I think that he got him a little flustered as well. I think when you start threatening with takedowns, that's what's going to open up the striking. He looked incredible against Fiziev. I thought his best performance to date was against Fiziev, because that was one of the highest level dudes he fought, and it was a very, very close fight. In my opinion, maybe other people didn't think so. I thought it was a very close fight. So, I think if I just go in there and try to strike with him, He's going to feel real comfortable, and he's going to be able to push a pace. Getting my hands on him, getting my weight on him, taking the back, getting heavy on him, making sure he's always carrying me, always worried about the takedown. I think that's what's going to be the difference in this fight.
And as I mentioned earlier, with this being the main event, it is 5 rounds. How have you been preparing in camp to get ready to potentially go 25 minutes? I know you're in great shape year round, but with this being your first 25-minute fight potentially in the UFC, what have you been doing differently?
Just going the rounds. That's really all you can do is when I'm getting ready for a 3-round fight, we spar 3 rounds. When I'm getting ready for a 5-round, I can't talk today. A 5-round fight, we go 5 rounds. So I'm in there. I'm not changing anything. I'm gonna do my style. I'm not gonna let my foot off the gas just because I'm worried about 10 extra minutes. I'll get up by 3, and we'll deal with those other 2 rounds as they come. And I'm very excited for the experience.
Do you think we get into rounds 4 or 5? What's your official prediction here?
I do. I do. I think he's able to stay safe for the first 3. I think we hit 4 and 5, and I'm mentally prepared to go to 4 and 5.
Can't wait to see it, man. Obviously, as long as you get your hand raised, you're healthy. Is there any chance we're going to see you on that huge pay-per-view card at the end of December?
Probably not.
Probably not. So early 2024, maybe.
I mean, I would love to get on the December card. It's just not how my career has been going so far. So I think that me fighting this date, I think they're gonna bench me for a little bit. I would love to get on the December card, no problem, whoever, but it's probably gonna be early 2024.
All right, man. Well, Grant, it's always great talking to you again. October the 7th, Bobby Green, UFC Fight Night 229 main event. Grant KGD back in action. As always, man, I appreciate your time. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. Anyone you want to thank, anything you want to plug, floor is yours.
Guys, all I want to talk about is my TikTok series. I'm doing this on TikTok, like I just said. It's called Making It to the UFC Using Fight IQ. And what I do is I talk to younger fighters who I'm trying to keep from making the same mistakes I made, or showing smart ways that I made it to the UFC. I think there's a lot more to making it to the UFC than just kicking and punching anymore. So if you want to go check that out, check me out on TikTok. I really appreciate it.